Hello, my name is James Downey, and I'm a nutritionist at CP Feeds. I'm here today talking with Tom Cornette from Cornette Dairy, the herdsman up here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the cow management side of things in a robotic system. We've had a lot of folks looking at robots and looking to put them in, so we want to touch on a few key points that we've been hearing as nutritionists and consultants out of the industry with a dairy farmer that has Lely robots. I'll let Tom give us a little overview of the farm.
So in about 2015, we had a ton of replacements available. We were overcrowded. We started looking at options for expansion. We had a neighbor at the time that had put some robots in, and we kind of went down that path, decided robots were the right path for us. So we started the 4 robots in this barn that we're currently in. We started them up on May 1st in 2017, so we've been at it for 4 years now. But we've learned a lot. We moved into the facility milking about 105 pounds per cow coming out of the parlor. We maintained that for the first year. After that, we had to come off BST. We were going through about a 50% expansion from within. We saw things dip and slide down to the upper 80s, and we're back on our way up now. We just hit 100 pounds of milk here again this spring.
So Tom, obviously you came from the parlor, milking, in a parlor system. Tell us a little bit why you went with the robots.
We looked at expanding the parlor. At the time, both my brother and I were in our mid to late 30s. We knew we had 30 years, 25, 30 more years to go. The parlor was 20 years old at the time. The parlor wasn't going to last without some major upgrades at some point. We knew we were going to need to do something. Labor costs at the time were not terrible, but we knew where they were headed. We thought robots were a good fit. I really liked the idea of being able to milk, especially fresh cows, early lactation cows, 4 or 5 times a day, drive those peaks, trying to get that production and get that lactation curve higher, to try and drive that production even higher from where we were in the parlor. And we did just get our first 200-pound cow this last month.
Tom, tell us a little bit about how you're managing cows differently in a robot system versus before when you were bringing cows out of a pen and going to a parlor 3 times a day.
Yep. That's actually a very big thing. I manage cows very, very differently. There's a lot less eyes on every cow every day. Milking 3 times a day in the parlor, I always said there were 6 sets of eyes on every cow every day. The pusher saw every cow when they would get the group of cows out of the pen, and whoever was in the parlor would see every cow as they were attaching. There were a lot of eyes on cows. For the last 3.5 years, it was my eyes that would see everything. They don't get to all 400 cows every day. We caught a lot of things in the parlor in that system visually. Just noticing something that was different. We caught problems before they were problems. Without getting the same amount of eyes on cows every day, we were noticing a delayed treatment time. We were seeing whatever was ailing her be more advanced. Even though we have activity monitors and rumination monitors on them, there's a little bit of a lag. And from the way we used to do it, I'm actually finding we caught things quicker than what the computers do. So that was probably the biggest thing. Another thing that's different in a robotic system is cows never leave pens. Doing something as simple as putting sand in the stalls. The cows can't leave the pen to do that anymore. We had to make sure in designing the facility we had gates in the right places to keep groups on one side of the pen versus the other. Same thing with running foot baths. Foot baths don't happen as they come out of the parlor anymore, so our foot baths are in the pens with the cows.
Tell us a little bit about maintenance when changed to a robot system, Tom.
So robots are machines. They, of course, have issues and need things that need replacing. It seems like the robots are a little bit more, there's more components, more sensors, more electronic things that are not difficult necessarily to replace, but there's a lot of components that will need replacing, whereas things in the parlor seemed a lot more, some nuts and bolts, and welders got a lot of stuff done, it seemed, in the parlor, at least in that system, at least for our system, is what it seemed like. Some numbers that I ran in 2016, which was our last full year in the parlor, all of our parts, service calls, and chemicals, our consumables, so inflations, teat dips, and wash chemicals, things like that, were about $105 per cow for 2016. 2018, which was the first full year that we were fully up and running with all cows on all robots, all 6 robots up and running, that number was $135 per cow. So it's slightly more. I'm hoping that number got down to more like 125 or 130. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it got closer to that in the last few years. There's just been a lot more, or I should say a lot less, service calls that I needed to do in the last 2 years because I'm learning how to fix things on the robots now.
It's a big thing we hear is as the farmers get more familiar with their systems, they can do some of the maintenance themselves and not have that out-of-pocket expense as much. As you can see, there's a lot of considerations for going to robots, and that doesn't matter which brand of robot you're going to put in. A lot of these considerations that Tom has shared is very important to spend time on when you're doing your planning and your design. As a nutritionist, it's really important that we're part of your team and we can help you in any way possible to get your design figured out or how you're going to manage those cows. If you have any other questions on going with robots, please contact your CP Feeds nutritionist. We'd love to help and be part of the conversation. Thanks for watching.